Alrighty, bow hunters, welcome back. Sitting here online again with one of the 2024 favorites, I do think, based on the amount of replies that we had. A lot of people just really enjoyed the conversation that we had, Graham, because I think you reminded everyone of having fun when you're out in the bush. There's so much, obviously, that goes on. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of patient building that happens when you're out in the bush. But the start of 2024 saw me interviewing you roughly around the same time in January, interviewing Graham Cahill. Here he is again for 2025, which would be a great way to kick off this year as well.
Hey, Matty, how are you, mate? It's great to be back on. And yeah, it does ring a bell in timing circles. We were just chatting then before we pushed the red record button, and yes, it does ring a bell. I think it was mid-Marin season last time though.
It was, yeah, and that was actually something I need to ask you about because that was my first learning of the Marins. And then this year I saw you pulled out plenty of Marins, it seems like. Seems like it was a good little stint.
Mate, it's such a bizarre thing in so much as that anyone sitting virtually anywhere other than south of Perth and this side of Albany would be shaking their head right now going, what the hell is that little midget talking about? And why does he go on about it every year? But it is such a it's it has the same local fever as the rut does. So think of the rut,
Yeah.
but for a freshwater crayfish.
I'm a bit intrigued. Like, what's you obviously eat them all and
Yeah.
but what, like, you capture, how many did you say, 15 or 30 is a max limit for a day or something? 18 maybe?
8 per person per day.
Eight per person per day. And it's 3.5 weeks, right? The
Yeah,
season?
that's right. And you're only allowed to transport. So from wherever you are marining to home, you can only be transporting 16 at one time.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a very, very tightly regulated little activity.
And how often are they actually pulling people up? Like, is there people
Yeah.
out scouting this?
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd be surprised, not so much during the season, because if you're going to wait for the season, you're going to do things by the book. It's out of season poaching that often gets the news. And that does happen quite regularly. I forget the fines, but it is astronomical. You don't want to be caught out of season with Marin. You get to the point, it's so much so that if you buy Marin from a farm, because that's the only way you can actually get Marin out of season is to buy them from a farm, if you transport them, you get a letter of declaration from the farm
Wow.
that you carry with you. Yeah, in case you just get pulled up randomly. Yeah, so it's a real low. People just froth down here. To give you an idea, really quickly, I was in Bunnings just the other day, and a bloke came up to me, shook my hand. He goes, "How you going?" Which is very, very common for me. But he says, "Oh, mate,
Mhm.
I went to school with you when we were in grade 3 or something." And like within, so that was bizarre. Like grade 3, he knew, or within 2 minutes of talking to him, he said, "How'd you go this year on the Mazzes?" So it's just such a local thing to, yeah, everyone gets excited about it. I think more than anything, it's a chance to go bush with your mates and drink piss. But
Definitely.
it was been a good season. I bagged out 2 times, so yeah, it was really cool.
And then do you freeze them and keep them that way, or is it like best just to eat straight away? Like, can you keep it
No,
that way or not at all?
what I try and do, because I usually come home with 16. It's a lot to eat. So what I'll do is I'll cook up as many as I can and eat them pretty soon. But then I'll boil them like a lobster and then
Hmm.
take the tail meat out. Then freeze dry the tail, not freeze dry, vacuum pack the tail meat, and I can keep that in the freezer for a week or so, and it's fine. But I've never frozen them. I don't think that does them any justice at all.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, wow. So it's really like this is the time of year where you get to enjoy them, and that's kind of it. It's like how living used to be. Imagine that, seasonal living.
Yeah, yeah. And then you sort of don't, I don't. I've got mates that have got dams that have got them in them, and I could go and get them again, but it's that one period of time where you get into them, you get stuck into them. Like right now, if you put a Marin in front of me, I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't really want that. But give me another 6 months, and I'll be frothing to get back into them. But it's just that one period, they come into season, you smash them, you make Marin sushi, Marin pasta, you have Marin on the barbecue, you have fresh Marin on bread with butter
Yeah.
every day. That's it. You're done for the year.
How
It's
good.
it's such a weird thing for people to be listening to me talking about. But
It's awesome though.
if you've ever been in Southern WA, you'll know. Yeah, you'll just be nodding your head right now, going, "Yeah, yeah, fucking oath, Marin season. Yep."
We just stayed with Rob Morris on our way. I was telling you about before
Yep.
when we hopped on the recording. I just went on a bit of a road trip with the family, and on our way back up from Ulladulla, we stopped at Rob and Tracy Morris's place, and he's trying to get me into mud crabbing. He's like, "Man, you got to get into the mud crabs, especially where I live. Like, I'm right by the water here in Brisbane, but in where I am, there's all these mangroves, and he's like, it's prime. Like, get out there, get doing it." I'm like, okay, I think he has actually convinced me, so I will give it a shot. But I don't know. I think it's just the sensation of going out and chasing anything, isn't it? In a sense.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw him the other day, he put a post up. He was out with his young son catching mud
Mhm.
crabs. And I think, his son will remember that when he's his age.
No,
That's,
it was really cool is that they'd made a shield and he had kept the shell, the top of the shell,
yep.
and it's almost like a taxidermy or like a Euro mount that he's kept. He's now putting it onto his wall. So they were just finishing up the day that we got there. I'm like, how sick's that?
Yeah. He put his hooks he got from Cayuga up there as well. I think he just did those with his kid as well. So
Yeah.
that's super cool.
Yeah, I've got a Rob Morris special in my wall. It's actually the bow mount that they got me at the 5 year mark of the podcast, and it's got the pilot cuts on each end, like wood cutout pilot cuts with two
Yep.
hooks from boars he got from. I'm pretty sure they were from Strathburn as well. But yeah, super cool little piece, and so the hooks are actually what the bow sits on.
That's sick. He's actually he doesn't say anything about it, but he's amazingly talented when it comes to working with wood. Have you seen the surfboard he made?
Man, it is awesome. It's so cool. I took a long
Holy
time
shit.
admiring it while he was out doing other things. I'm just sitting there looking at this board like, oh Jesus, it's beautiful.
It's phenomenal. He won awards for it the whole lot. I didn't know. I had no idea that he could, I knew he was handy, but not that freaking handy. Like that's, yeah.
He kept that quiet about the awards and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Very humble fella.
Oh, he is. He is. He makes these best way to describe them is wooden bodyboards as well.
Yep.
And they're just works of art. Like they're absolutely sick. Like he's
There you
very
go.
talented fella.
Well, yeah, he's working on boats a lot now. So I think the stuff he'd be doing for
Yeah.
the boats would be incredible.
Yeah. 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 No, he's a dark horse, that one. You gotta watch him.
Yeah, indeed. And my wife said, does Rob always wear hats because he's the only non-blonde one of the blonde nomads? Like, I think just when he gets a bit more sun, it's a bit more blonde.
Well, he doesn't wear shirts ever either. He's half naked like 90% of the time. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just when he's around
If
you.
he can avoid wearing clothes, he does.
Well, mate, I have to ask, being that you are a content creator and you're always kind of on the road, what is the content that you actually consume mostly? Because obviously you're out in the four-wheel drive world. I wouldn't expect that you would consume a heap of four-wheel drive stuff. It's probably other stuff you kind of spend time looking at.
Virtually none. I know that sounds horrible, but virtually none.
Good way to be.
Yeah, I guess it's, that's my job, and I don't really get overly excited about that content these days. Not to say anything negative about the four-wheel drive content that's out there, but it's just not really what I get into these days. But yeah, as you would imagine, a heap of bow hunting stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Constantly watching that. And then outside of that, anything weird and wacky that comes up that some people sort of organise or not organise, but recommend me to watch that. But to be fair, man, I don't actually watch a lot of stuff on a screen. If that, I try to read before going to bed, so I'm not using my screen. That, if I can, it's a drug. It's a freaking drug. But if I can, I try not to. But yeah, as far as content goes, I try to avoid it before bed. And then when I am watching it, it's a lot of bow hunting, to be honest. And this year, it's been a lot of technique, form, function, nerdy shit. To try and work on where we left off last year, this bloody target panic issue that I've had. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the last podcast, if people didn't go listen, go and check it out because it is going to be hopefully like the perfect little segue. But you talked about three news that you had essentially been suffering, or that you'd got, and that you were also suffering from. So you had just gotten access to a brand new block. You were on your way to getting a brand new bow. It was in the works. Ian was working on it. Yep. And then you had pretty much just gone through, it wasn't a new phase, but it had been a consistent phase of target panic that had been messing around for quite a while. Yep. What was it? What was the target panic? How did it start out? What did it look like? And then how's it progressed? And then how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And it was something so target panic, I believe, and I've been speaking to Toby about it before, and he put up a meme quite some time ago. He's a meme lord, that guy.
He is.
And it was a picture of someone on the red carpet, like in Hollywood, and there was a dude creeping up behind him about to scare the shit out of him. And on the meme, he put every archer in the world, and the guy creeping up behind him, he put target panic. Like you're going to get it. You're going to get it at some point. So I think for me, it stemmed from beginning archery with a trigger release, and not learning proper form and function from day one. Had I done that, I don't think I would have had target panic at the level that I had it at. So to describe my target panic, because I think it affects everyone differently. For me, it wasn't the punching of a trigger. Like I could squeeze the trigger off nice and smooth. It wasn't that. It was literally, I could not hold my pin on the sight. I could only hold it below the sight. Excuse me. It
It-
literally felt like you had your hand on my hand and were pushing down with all your weight, and I had to push up with all my. It sounds, yeah, to someone. There'll be someone out there right now listening to me going, "Yep, I know
yeah,
exactly what you
definitely.
mean."
And was it
Um,
target as well as animal based? Like everything that you were using the bow for, it was always felt the same?
no, when hunting, it wasn't nearly as bad. It happened, but nowhere near as bad. I seemed to be able to control it a lot more when I was hunting, but in a target environment, horrendous. Like, yeah, you have to feel it to understand. That weight on that hand was like my bow had just I'd hung a bag of potatoes off my bow. And the only way for me to get it to where I needed to be able to fire was to kind of rapidly bring it up and then shoot. And I'd gotten to a point over the years where I could get where I needed to be, sort of, be in a good position, bring it up, and then gently squeeze the trigger. I didn't have to slap it.
Yeah.
It wasn't shocking, but it was still, oh my God, it was debilitating at times, really debilitating. Like, there were days there where I thought this is not working. You need to give this up and, look at maybe a crossbow or, heaven forbid, go to rifle.
Hmm.
It was that bad. It was that debilitating. So when I last spoke to you that was when I was like, this is it. Concerted effort to try and get around this.
And so was it essentially you'd lift it above and then try to drive by it because the weight would push by, or you just needed, if you lift it up, it would just be enough of a hold, hopefully, to be able to get to it?
Yeah, I couldn't. I tried all different aspects. I tried bringing the bow above the target first and then bring it down. But if I did that, it was like whoop, straight down. Couldn't hold it where it needed to be. I tried coming in from the side,
Mm.
and it sounds so ridiculous. I just couldn't do it. Every time I did it, my bow arm would come down below where I wanted it to be and just hover below nicely. And it literally felt like there was a weight on my arm pushing down, and I couldn't bring it back up again. Phenomenal, man. Just absolutely phenomenal. There will be someone out there right now listening to me, and I know this for a fact because I know a very good bow hunter who had exactly the same problem with the bow hand being pushed down. So there'll be someone out there listening right now just nodding their head going, yep, I've got the exact same thing.
Yeah, I've definitely talked to someone else on the podcast who's mentioned the exact same method of or um, process of target panic. I feel like it might have been Summers or Brad Murphy saying the same thing.
Right. Yep. Yep. To be honest, I'm not sure if it was Brad Smith or Clint Picking who had the exact same one as me. I think it might have been Clint who had, yeah. And I'll get to that because it was a light bulb moment when further on in this discussion where he said that he had the exact same thing to me. And I said, how did you fix it? And that's where I'm at now. But
Yeah.
yeah, so big name bow hunters like Brad Smith, I was speaking to him and he reckons he had target panic so bad. Yeah, he was fucked. He was completely fucked. Couldn't shoot a bow.
No
It
way.
was, yeah. And
Why I picked up a camera, hey?
well, yeah. And that's Brad Smith talking,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was debilitating. But
And
so this
did you
part,
find that like if you're in front of people is worse or it was the same no matter
yeah,
what?
man, I used to love my 3D shooting. Like I used to froth going on for a 3D tournament to the point where I was telling the boys about this. I used to be the one that would go, I'll shoot last. The reason I wanted to shoot last was so I could hunt down people's arrows and break them. Like I loved my 3D shooting. So having a crowd around me, I actually frothed on. As target panic got worse and worse, having people watch you, oh my God. Yep. It would exponentially go through the roof.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I think when you said, does it impact me as much when I'm hunting? A lot of my hunting is either done solo or with one other person. So there's very little stress on you from other people. It's
Hmm.
just you. So it wouldn't impact me as much. But if you have people watching, holy balls, man.
I think
Terrible.
also with the hunting side of things, like there is that adrenaline dump that might not
Yep.
be there with the 3D target that just it's like innate for you to focus is that
Yep. Yep.
that stress method that is like, look, you either it's a survival method, really. It's like, hey, you either get this or you don't eat tonight is essentially what's ingrained in us from evolution standpoint. So it makes sense why you'd be a little bit more controlled maybe in that position as well.
100%. I think that's a big one. You do, I was pretty good at overcoming that. Taking a couple of deep breaths before a shot. And I think in overcoming that anxiety of the moment, I was also overcoming target panic to a degree. But I
Mm-hmm.
still, looking back on those days, I was still definitely not shooting the way I should have been shooting. I was still
Yeah,
doing it a dodgy way, if that makes sense.
definitely.
You can be a great golfer and have a really fucking weird swing. You look at some of those Indian and Pakistani bowlers, they can bowl amazing, but man, they've got some weird action going on.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
but for me, I had weird archery action going on, but could shoot reasonably well. But yeah, it was get it last the end of last year was really starting to let me down to the point where I had to do something about it.
So getting the new bow, did that change anything for you?
Straight up, straight up. So I think I told you last time we chatted, when I talked to Ian, I said, mate, we've got to change some things here. And I had three stipulations that I wanted to work on. First and foremost, it's going to sound a bit strange, but I wanted the bow to have a rock solid backstop. Like
Hmm.
I'd been Hoyt my whole life, apart from a bit of a thing there with PSE. And a lot of my Hoyt bows, nothing against Hoyt, the great bows. Every bow's great in this day and age. But what I was finding was that backstop, especially if I was a little sketchy, if I was feeling a bit anxious, was always allowed. I always felt like I was creeping forward, like I was coming forward with my hand. I had to really lock it on, and I felt like I was fighting it all the time. So I said to Ian, I got to have a backstop that is like a brick wall. I want to know when I'm on that backstop, it's there. I'm not moving. That was the first thing. Secondly, this was not bow reliant, but I wanted to decrease my poundage so that I wasn't fighting that backstop.
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
And then from there, I definitely wanted the bow to be smooth when pulling back. Sometimes you get a bow, you got to come through that valley, and it's like,
yeah.
So I just wanted to go just a nice smooth pullback.
Yep.
And then there was one other thing there, and that was I wanted to go to a 1-pin sight. And I'll mention that in a second. So I said to Ian, I want everything. You just do everything, organize everything. Those are my stipulations. And he said, mate, we're 100% going to go with the new 2024 Bowtech SR.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't done anything with Bowtech before, never shot a Bowtech. Sort of knew the term Blowtech for their, the old limbs that used to have some issues.
Yeah.
He assured me, he said, mate, forget everything you ever learned about that. Just trust me on this. We're going to go with an SR. And I said, oh, no. There was a similar bow coming out at the time called the SS, which stood for super smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit slower. He said, no, mate, we're going to go the SR. We're just going to pump it up a bit, just get it a bit faster for you, just so it's a bit more forgiving. Trust me, just trust me. So that was when I spoke to you last. And he built this bow up for me. It arrived at home. He paper tuned it, so that was all good to go. And I'll never forget, I shot one arrow with it in the backyard at 20 meters. Probably should have gone a bit closer anyway. It doesn't matter. Shot one arrow at 20 meters. I put the bow down and I rang Ian. And I said, this is the best fucking bow I've ever shot in my life.
How good.
It was an absolute game changer. Lowering the poundage for one, that was a big one. The backstop on this bow, I can literally draw back on this and I could walk around the backyard.
Yeah, wow.
It is not a thing. I don't even think about it. It is so locked in there. So when I'm at full draw, I am rock solid with this thing.
Do you know what your let off is or anything? It'd be probably 85 or 90%.
85, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's virtually nothing to hold at 60 pounds, which is what I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference that's going to a single pin sight, my rationale behind going to a single pin sight was I don't shoot out beyond, generally speaking, don't shoot out beyond 25-ish meters. That's a long shot for me.
Yeah.
Moving that single pin, now that I'm used to it, is, because you can obviously move it, is so intuitive. I've shot a number of animals now with the bow. From 44 meters right down to the closest was about 12. But the ability to move that pin now is so intuitive that I don't even think about it. It's like just one more, it's like putting your rangefinder away. I bet you don't even think about putting your rangefinder away. It doesn't drop on the floor.
It just happens. No, yeah.
It just happens. So I've got rangefinder binoculars, which have also been going a bit gear nerd here, but rangefinder binos, massive change for me. It's no longer two things that you're doing. You're not ranging going, okay, he's over there. How far is that? You're going, he's over there at 36 meters. Within a split second, that tree's 20 meters. If I can get to the tree, it's a 16-meter shot. Just like that.
Incredible.
That's been a huge game changer. So your range, I go, okay, that's at 24 meters. Dial to 24, done. It literally takes 2 seconds to dial this bow in with a single pin. And what I was having trouble with when I had all these pins lined up like this, and I needed to use this pin, I had to get all these, which I can't hold the freaking pin on the target as it is. I've now got to move all these pins up past where I need to be to get to this one. It used to do my head in. So if I had a 30-meter shot, I had to ignore this one, this one, and this
three different pins, essentially.
Yeah, to get to 30 meters.
Yeah.
And it used that anxiety of moving pins, but now it's just a straight pin. I just go up, pop it where I need it.
Is it the Spot Hog that you're using now?
It is. No, it isn't. I'll try and show you. It's Bowtech's Centermass single pin, which is actually is it black and white archery or B&W archery that does
Black
it
and
for you?
gold, maybe.
That's it. Sorry, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
yeah.
So it doesn't have the second. So I know the Spot Hogs, for instance, they've got the green at the very top, and then they've got another one midway
Yeah.
down. It doesn't have that at all, does it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
It
does. So
does.
it's
Okay.
called their dual mass, or so it's their center mass, their dual pin. So it's got a green and a red directly below it. So my green's at 20, my red's at 30.
Hmm.
But to be honest, man, it is so quick for me to make that change. I don't even split those pins.
Yeah.
If I shot a boar just recently up at Cayuga and it was at 24 meters, I literally it's so quick. I just dialed it to 24. I
Yeah.
didn't
Wow.
split the pin. So I ignore that second pin. I don't use the red pin at all. There
Yeah.
may come a time when I have to, and I practice with it occasionally, but it's so quick to move it. I just use the top pin.
It's funny because in my head I've got a 3-pin slider, and so in my head I always thought, you know what, having to slide just for that difference, like 18 to 25 or whatever it might be,
Yep.
or 18 to 30, let's say, like that for me on my slider that I've got right now, it takes a long time. Like there's a lot of motion that has to happen. There's an unclicking or an unlocking. There's a
Yep.
turning and a rolling to find the right position. Then the
Yep.
relocking before you can even shoot. And I don't know if it's much the same, but it definitely, for me, it was like, that's something in my head that I've stopped myself from going to a single pin, because I was like, you know what, I can deal with the 3 pins. That's fine. I'd prefer to have the range rather than having to interchange and do that. And the amount of times that I've actually played with my 50 for instance, and then
Yep.
gone back to shoot 20 and left it at 50 and
Yep.
just skyrocket over my 20
Yeah.
target.
One
I
of
was
the
like,
boys
that's
did that this
enough for
weekend.
me to not do that. Yeah, yeah.
Have you tried? I've got the exact same range of motion. So there's an unlock and a lock. It's like a little lever.
Hmm.
But have you tried shooting yours? Just leave it unlocked. Never lock it.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I don't ever lock mine, so I don't
Okay.
have to unlock it when I do the rolling action.
Yeah.
It does make ever so slightly more of a sound. You can sort of, if you're really listening, hear the lever move ever so slightly when you fire.
Hmm.
But so I don't unlock it. It's literally just I'm holding the bow. I've ranged it 24 meters, 24, clip on, pull back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is literally. I don't know. It would probably add, if it adds 3 seconds to my shot, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is it's also good because it's like, well, heck, you shouldn't really be taking rush shots anyway.
No,
So
no.
that rearrangement of having to do that, it just stops an extra temptation, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, not having to split pins, etc., was, yeah, I cannot recommend a single pin. If you're struggling with having all this shit in your face
Hmm.
or in your sight window, have a go at a single pin and try and, yeah, just get that mentality that you 9 times out of 10 probably don't even need more than one pin, really.
Definitely. Single
yeah,
point focus, right?
yeah, for me with my target panic, it made a huge difference, massive difference.
Yeah. We're not very good at multitasking.
No, especially me. And that's where, for me, removing the rangefinder out of the objection too. Like don't have to get something else out of my pocket and range. And I've always found with a bloody rangefinder, I'd be shaking. I'd be like, oh fuck, look at that thing, and I'd have trouble ranging it. With the binos, I can hold onto the rib of my hat if I've got a bit shaky and range it, get a range, bino range, off. It hangs around my neck. It's done. That's done. Don't look at it again.
That's awesome. What's the binos that you got?
Where are they? Are they in here? I'll see if I can find them for you. They're the Vortex one. Actually got them out of the States.
Okay.
I think when it comes to binos, I reckon you owe it to yourself. Again, I'm no bloody expert, man. I'm not a bow hunter's big toe, but I reckon when it comes to optics, everyone's eyes are different. You can go and spend $6,000 on some optics, and you might find that you've got a better or more clear vision from $1,000 pair of optics.
Hmm.
So they're not the best in the world, but for me, they are crystal clear. And like I say, having the rangefinder built in, they're all I'll need for a long time. So much so, actually, I was speaking to Clint Picking up in Cayuga. He went and bought himself a pair. He checked mine out while we were up in Cape this year, and he went and bought himself a set after he saw the difference that it was going to make to his shooting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I looked through. I think I've got the Diamondbacks, the Vortex Diamondbacks, like
Yep.
not super expensive, maybe $500-$600 or something like that. And then I looked through some Swarovski ones,
Yep.
like side by side, looking at one, looking at the other, looking at one, looking at the other. And in the middle of the day, there really wasn't much of a difference at all. And they were saying like during the night time or like on that last light, that's where you notice a big, big difference with them.
Yeah.
But for me, like I think they were 2.5, maybe even more, for that. And I was like, I don't know, is it really that worthwhile? If it had
Yeah.
something like the rangefinder in it, like what you were saying, like that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And definitely something that, I mean, I'm in the stage right now where I have to upgrade my rangefinder. So I'm like, do I just transfer and get some new binos instead? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a tough one. If you can, I'd strongly recommend you have a look at these because, yeah, I think it's been all these little steps that I've taken in order. I didn't really even know when I got these rangefinder binos. It was a bit of a treat for myself when I went to America. I was in one of those, those massive American sports stores, and I
Yeah.
had a look through one and then binoed this fucking bear or something down the other end of the store, and I was like, whoa, that's really easy to do. Like, you push a button, it tells me where it is. And I thought, oh, I'll treat myself. I didn't know that it was going to be an integral part of overcoming target panic at the time. But
Yeah.
all these things that I've been doing have lined me up perfectly, pardon the pun, when it comes to archery, to go down the path I am. So for yourself, if anyone out there has got a set of those and you can just play around with them for a day, man, I found them to be such a game changer.
Yeah, I think one of my rifle friends is going to get some. So I'll see if he actually did or not yet and go and play with his, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, you said that one of the big things that you think kind of started this off also was just starting with a trigger release, like a finger trigger release. Did you change releases before getting a new bow or anything like that? Like, where were you at with that standpoint? Because I know you've gone through a few different ones.
Yeah, yeah. So I did everything prior to doing the work, if that makes sense. I tried every fucking shortcut except doing the work. So
Yeah.
I went to like the old thumb release.
Hmm.
That was actually Adam Greentree sent me that over to try and see if this would help me out.
Is that a
I
stand?
tried,
A Perfex, maybe?
sorry,
Is that a Perfex? It looks pretty similar to that.
it's a Stan shoot off. I think it's
Shoot
quite
off. Yeah.
old,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
Uh, Went to Brad Smith suggested I go for the short and sweeter.
Hmm.
Looks like it like that. So basically, I tried. I bought all sorts of. I've got that many freaking release aids hanging around here, and yeah, they all did different things. Though, but at the end of the day, I still couldn't bring that freaking arm up to make the shot.
Yeah.
So some would be different. Some I could shoot better. Some I couldn't. Some were looser. Some were tighter. But at the end of the day, I didn't address the root cause of the problem. So yeah, in answer to your question, yes, I tried multiple different release aids.
Hmm. So where were you at in the sense of new bow came in, it
Yep.
was better, you could hold it back. Were you
Yep.
finding you were able to find the point again, or was it still lower every time?
When I first got the bow, I thought this is it. Problem solved. I was shooting so good. What it was, though, was the unique nature of the bow and me getting used to the way the bow shot. It was confidence building. And because of that, I was shooting and grouping fairly well. So I didn't have the anxiety because I wasn't feeling that twitchy nature of the bow. It was just a really pleasant bow to shoot. Shot well, was silent. So I thought in my head, heck, I'm doing all right here. Maybe we've got this. And then I couldn't give you a time frame, but a certain time after I've gotten used to the bow, started to creep back again. I remember I went down one afternoon. I was shooting out to some distance too. I was starting to train way out to 50, 60 meters.
Yeah.
And that was and was shooting okay. And then one afternoon, I just pulled back the bow and I had a flinch, like a weird little, "Whoa, what's that? What's going on there?" And
I know that
yeah,
feeling too well.
yeah,
I think everyone
just
knows that feeling, right? Oh.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But it rocked me. It's like, oh fuck, what was that? And then a day or two later, at 30 meters, missed the target kind of thing. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh
wow.
man, yeah, it's just. So I decided, yeah, I don't know if I talked to you about it at the time, but I decided to do Joel Turner's course.
It was literally so that day you were like, you know what, stuff it, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it and you're like, I've been thinking about it and I'm just going to get
Yeah.
it tonight. I don't know if it was that night that you got it or not, but yeah, how good.
Would have been very close to then. So probably just a little while after that, because I would have had the bow for a little while by this stage. So it was, I won't lie, wasn't cheap because you're paying for it in American dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. As an Australian. So it wasn't cheap.
That's why I like to work with Americans because they pay you in American dollars. So the transfer is awesome.
The translation that direction is way better than the other way. Let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much so. So yeah, I got that. And for anyone that's done the course, I did it methodically. Like I thought I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do this, word for word, exactly verbatim, do everything. Anyone that's done the course will nod their head when I say this next bit. The part in the course that he stipulates is the most important part is a part where you need to write your name. I'm not going to give you any more info in case you want to do the course, but anyone that has will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say The bit where you need to write your name was like this fuck off moment. Like, wow. Okay, I get it. So if I took nothing more from that course, it was just that little tiny part of the component that made me think the most. And then there was a bunch of other stuff that I put together. I came away from that course, started shooting again using some of the techniques and tips that he was giving me, and yet again started shooting pretty good. And I thought, well, okay, that was $475 Australian, or whatever it was, well spent.
Yeah.
What it did, it didn't cure my target panic, but what it did do that I hadn't been doing before was get my head into a good spot. Like I was really now thinking about the shot. I wasn't thinking, yeah, but maybe if I use this release aid, I'll shoot better. Or if I use this release aid, I'll shoot better. I was now thinking, okay, this is 100% me. It's 100% inside me, this issue.
Yeah.
But I was still having issues with holding. I was shooting way better just because of the thought process in my head and what I was doing, and the mantras that he gave you to sort of say before a shot.
Yeah.
But I still had this underlying mental sort of condition, if you will, that needed to be overcome. But definitely for me, it was worthwhile doing, especially the part where you've got to write your name. I won't give you anything
No,
else.
it's good. I mean, I did the podcast with him 3-4 months ago. I don't know if you listened to that, but that was really good. And he's become so clear in the way that he explains things. And when he said that, like everything on the podcast, I was like, wow, like he's just really come to the next level of being able to share his information, help anyone to be able to take that and roll with it. And really one of the biggest things that I got from that was being able to make your talking that you're doing in your head bigger than the thoughts. So you're thinking bigger than your thoughts. And yeah, it was very powerful, just even that. And I really haven't shot my bow that much, to be honest, even since that podcast. But every time I have, I've been putting that into play, and it's been very, very powerful.
Yeah, one of the things he said to me post the course, I emailed him with a question or something, and he said, make every single shot count. So don't give yourself the scope to let down. Don't give yourself the scope to just punch a shot off and go, okay, I'll do the next one better. Like every shot, be there and do it as if it's the last.
Yeah.
And that at the time, I couldn't do that. I was still struggling with it. Now I see what he means now. And yeah, every single shot, go through your process, go through your shot, and then this is it. This is the shot. I'm not there. There is no getting out of this shot. It's going to be fucking perfect, and that's it.
I mean, that's such a good mindset, especially for the Americans that have one opportunity a month.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, a year, right? Like 1 month a year to be able to do that, and maybe even one shot because of their tag system. Like, yeah, that's incredibly valuable to be able to have that as a piece. But I guess here in Australia, we're very lucky, and hence why potentially you've got that thought of, oh, just let down. Like it doesn't matter.
Yep. And that's I don't know how those guys do it, man. One shot that would
No.
Oh Jesus.
Your head in, right? Yeah.
That'd give me just thinking about it makes me twitch. But yeah, that was a big moment. And it got me doing the course gave me the confidence to continue on with that year's hunts that I had planned.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I did the annual trip up to Cayuga again this year with a couple of mates, which was a fucking funny trip. Holy shit. The laughter from that night. Oh my God. It started with me getting told off in a strip club because I whistled at a hot stripper. That's a story in itself. That was in Cairns on night one, first night fever. But it wasn't until Cayuga that I was speaking. For those that have been to Cayuga and shot up there for a week, they'll know what I mean when I say you get up in the morning and you're having a cup of coffee. You know, there'll be a couple of dusty heads around you, but everyone's shooting bows, and usually there's a couple of people sitting on chairs having a cup of coffee underneath these trees in the shade. And I sat down and I was chatting with Brad and Clint about target panic. And Clint basically explained his target panic many, many years ago being exactly what I was experiencing to the letter. I let him just talk. I just listened to him. I let him talk. And then I said, you shoot like a madman. Like you've obviously overcome it. You're an incredibly, I didn't piss in his pocket, but I basically said, very, very established bow hunter. That was after one night getting drunk and asking him how much he did know about bow hunting. He'll be laughing right now if he's listening. Fucking funny.
The playback, yeah.
Fucking funny. And he said, it's going to suck. You're going to have to do a bunch of work, but if you do what I tell you, you'll, in X number of weeks, you'll have overcome it. And I was like, man, I've tried everything. I've tried releases. I've tried, but you haven't done the work. You have to do the work to overcome target panic. So it was, and then Brad said the same thing. Then I was speaking to Matty. Matty was a little more blunt. I was in the car with Matty, and I said, "What would you do, Matty?" He goes, "Well, first of all, I'd get that fucking release ape, and I'd chuck it out the fucking window." So he was a little bit more blunt.
Yeah.
But yeah, both Brad and Clint gave me these exercises to do when I came home, which is going to sound so simple to everyone listening right now. But we were at Cayuga in October, so through November and into most of December, every day, every afternoon, I went out to my target bale at varying distances. I varied the distance, started very close, but then varied the distances. Every day, I'd draw back 40 times, aim, hold the pin on the sight, and then let down. Not one day did I take a shot. Every single day. Drew, held the pin where I wanted it to be, then let down. And it was as boring as batshit. It sucked.
So no shots at all in that whole time? You didn't
Probably
ever let go?
Probably 6 weeks of drawing my bow back every single day.
Yeah.
40 odd times, and then letting down again.
Yeah, wow.
And I would vary the distance because I would find that up close, super easy to do. At 40 meters, I'd even knowing I wasn't going to take a shot, I'd get anxiety.
Wow.
But after a while, it just became so bloody boring and so second nature. I'd just draw back, hold the freaking pin, let down, curse Clint's name, call him a fuckwit, draw back, hold it, let down.
How long are you holding for on the dot?
Until I got somewhat of a bit of a fatigue.
Okay.
So quite a while.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this. It was actually Clint that said to me, "Man, all you got to do," one afternoon, he said, "all you got to do is just learn to trust the float. Let that pin just float." So I actually wrote it on my bow. I don't know whether you can see that there. I wrote.
Oh yeah, you can see it. Yeah. How good.
So I just learned to just trust that float. At the time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just holding it, release, let it down, hold it, let it down. Then the next part of the process was to put my target up on a stump at a reasonable height and just get 7 meters from it. And I've used this thing here to get the process right in my head, which is a little, you know what these are, the little training device.
I've actually never seen it. I've seen someone play with them, but I don't know what it is.
Best thing ever for anyone that's suffering form problems or target panic problems. So you basically just clip yourself into it like you would your bow. You basically, clip your release aid in like you would your bow.
Yeah.
You set it to your draw length, you pull back, and in the comfort of your home, you can let it go and you can practice your technique. So you can do it while you're watching TV. You're going to sit there and do it while you watch TV.
Yeah.
So I should add that whilst I was doing the pull back and let down process, every night I'd strap my release aid on and I would practice pulling through the shot. So I would not use my finger in any way, shape, or form to fire the shot.
So this is all finger trigger release that you're using the whole time?
It doesn't matter what I was using, whether I was using this one here, the short and sweet, which is the same but a bit more touchy, or, for example, a more traditional one.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what I was using. It was all about pulling through the shot using your shoulder tension to do it. And after the first couple of weeks of doing it, I remember saying to my mate Tim, I was like, "Fuck, man, my upper back, I must be doing something like at work or something because my shoulder blades are fucked." Like, bro, it's because you're pulling that stupid fucking toy back every night using muscles you've never used in your life. And honestly, man, my shoulder blades were killing me because I was just every day just using this back tension thing to. So after this time of pulling back, letting down, pulling back, letting down, I finally took a couple of shots using the technique that I've been practicing every night on this, which was to just pull back. And I tell you, the first couple of I shat myself. This bow would just go off and like, fuck me, my arms would fly out in the air. And like, you can't be serious. This is how you fire a bow for real. Like, this is what's supposed to happen. And yet, went back to the drawing board, asked people, they're like, "Yeah, I want to see your arms fly out."
Shoot, yeah.
I don't want you to make a shot and go,
"No, yes."
Yeah, it's so and the first few times I shot the bow like this, I was like, "How the fuck is that arrow landing in that?" Because I didn't do that. That wasn't me. I didn't shoot that thing. Like it, and off it'd go. I'd be like, "Oh fuck!" But it's too late. Then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just started stepping back, and I think my groups went from, this is unimportant, but it gives you the techniques working. My groups went from sort of a CD, for those that are young enough, they won't even know what I'm talking about, but from a CD at 30 meters, literally now I'm touching arrows at 30.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So my groups have, but that's not the bit That's not the bit that for me has been the biggest revelation. It's the feeling I get now. If I was to step outside now and shoot my bow, it would be 100% controlled.
Mm.
I know exactly what's going to happen when I take that shot, but at the same time, I'm completely not in control.
It's a surprise still. The shot
It's
is an
still a
actual
surprise,
surprise.
and
Yeah.
yeah, all I'm doing is going through a range of motions, and I can hold that pin for the first time in my life and just let it float.
Mm.
And I think what it is that I no longer have the pressure in my head of going, okay, your pin's there, pull the trigger. Because I'm not. Under any circumstance am I going to pull that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if I'm using this thing here, I'm just going to basically
To
roll my
roll.
I'm
Yeah.
going to roll back and pull. I am not going to make a shot. So
Mm.
I don't care where my pin is. That's not my problem. The pin is just where the pin is. That's Joel Turner's problem. He told me just to sit there and let it do its thing. So I'm just pulling back, and at some point, this bow goes off. In my head, I never think, okay, you're there, make the shot.
Yeah.
I just pull back, settle in, and I just say, trust the float, and just pull. And then, boom, this fucking thing goes off. And lo and behold, there's an arrow down there in where it should be.
How good. It's funny. You said that you had a big aha moment. Do you like, apart from doing the work, what was it?
When Clint said he had the exact same problem,
Mm-hmm.
and he said it was like someone was hanging off his arm. I needed to hear it from someone that I looked up to, like Clint.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it while sipping on a cup of coffee, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
But wait, you mean like he actually did it? He actually said, yeah, stand up. Does it feel like this? And he pushed down on my arm. I was going, bro, that's exactly how it feels. And I said, and you got over that. He said, I couldn't shoot for shit. He said, there's no way I could shoot. I said, yeah, I had to do X, Y, Z. And I remember him saying, yeah, something along the lines of, but you will have to be prepared to do the work. He said, I can tell you how to get away with it, but you've got to be prepared to do the work. And I remember saying to him, when I get away from Koga now, Clint, and I said it to Brad as well, I'm not going to fire an arrow until I can hold that pin on that sight for as long as I need to.
Yeah.
And I think both of them, they were super psyched for me. They were both excited for me, but I don't think they realized just the extent I was going to go with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, is he actually going to go do the work? Let's see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Brad said to me, next time you're up here, I'm not going to tell you what release aid you're going to use. You're going to use any release aid I give you. I'm going to set it at whatever the tension's going to be whatever I set it at, and I want you to shoot it. And at the time, I thought, no fucking way I can do that. But now, other than a hinges still freak me out, especially if you've got to let down a hinge for whatever reason. If an animal moves, they freak me the heck out. But pretty much anything else he gives me, I reckon I could shoot it.
But the hinge is it's so similar to your thumb release in the sense of it's the leverage, right? Like depending on the positioning of it. And it just means put pressure back on your pointer finger rather than, but yeah, I guess I still know what you mean. Like trying to let that down and not put pressure on your ring finger. Yeah, that's a pretty tough thing to do.
It is. And Brad had just punched himself in the head too with his hinge. So he was always like, oh, I'm not shooting like, so those things have still got a bit of they're a bit of a unicorn to me. I'm not too sure what you're supposed to do with those things. It'll be the next step. I'll 100% go there. It'll be my next step. But I was speaking to Maddie about one of the hunts he did last year, and he had 3 release aids in his pocket of his hunting pants, and he doesn't remember. He took a bantang last year. I don't think he'd mind me telling you this story. He doesn't remember what release aid he used. He just put his hand in his pocket, pulled out a release aid, clipped it on, didn't look, pulled back, shot, perfect shot.
Yeah,
and he said that's. Now, what I'm finding difficult about that, even for me, is that every single release aid I use, for example, that there has a completely different anchor point to that there.
Definitely. Yep.
So I agree. It's all well and good. If you have 3 of those different.
Yeah. So talking to the listeners, it's thumb release versus a trigger release. So we're talking when you anchor with the thumb release, you've got your fingers on either side of your jaw, like your pointer finger, middle finger. Is that how you anchor as well, usually?
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm sort of in there like that.
Yeah.
Which means that my anchor point now is way back here.
Definitely. Versus where do you sit with your trigger? Because mine's like my knuckle, my pointer finger knuckle goes to pretty much the join of
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Mine's just in sort of in behind here.
Yeah.
In behind my jaw kind of thing. That's
much of a muchness. Yeah.
Yeah, much of a muchness. But when you think about it, when you're using a thumb release, that's where the string is. It's right near your finger.
Yeah.
But when I'm using one of these, for example, it's nowhere. There's a huge difference in my draw length. So the concept of using any release aid, I think, is fantastic if you're using much the same release aid. So if you've got 3 thumb release aids in your pocket, and
Yeah,
they're all
one's
set
back
for different
tension,
triggers.
one's
Yeah,
thumb,
yeah,
one's
that's
hinge.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But they've all got to have that rock solid anchor point every time. So I'll go and play with all these different release aids, and I can shoot them all good. But every single time I've got to adjust my stance. I've got to get used to it again to counteract a different anchor point.
Hmm.
So I appreciate what the boys have said about that, being able to use anything that you're handed. But I still think for me, just individually for me, I've had to find one release aid that I know is bomb proof and feels good. And that's come down to, and I never thought it would, it's come down to making sure whatever I'm using has got zero, literally zero trigger travel at all. I
Mm,
don't want to feel even my thumb release. That has got to be absolutely crystal clear. So I don't want that to come back with any travel at all. As
yeah.
soon as I hit, yeah, I just want it to, and
Gone.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that used to scare the shit out of me, the thought of that.
Mm,
Like having such a, I guess you'd call it a hair trigger, but it's not really because you can still set the amount of pressure on these.
yes.
Yeah,
You
but
just tail it back. Like,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
But I don't care how much pressure's there either, because all I'm doing is pulling. Put as much pressure on that trigger as you want. I don't
Hmm.
care. But I don't want it to travel. I don't want to feel it move.
Yeah.
I just want to be at a point where it just goes and takes off.
And so when you're pulling with your thumb release now, are you thinking about just pulling the elbow back or are you thinking about rolling the fingers? Like what is the actual feeling for you?
For me, I'm just going with that same old mantra that Maddie, Brad, Clint, Joel, so many people keep saying, and that is trust the float in my head. And then I'm just going, pull, just
Yeah.
pull. And I think with this, just by virtue of the way I shoot, I kind of roll back anyway.
Hmm.
Like I kind of bring I mean, that's a
It's
big,
just the pull.
you're not doing
But
much
yeah.
movement, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of rolling anyway as I clench my shoulder blades.
Mm.
So I'm not thinking anything technical at this stage. I'm just thinking pull.
Yeah,
And
interesting. What's I mean, I've found definitely with my trigger release, if I'm ever finding that I'm punching the trigger, I'll go back to using my stand perfects, which is the back tension release, just to get used to that feeling, like pull, 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 and lend that shot off. And
yeah,
then I go back and it's all fine. But what I've found, if I think about it a lot, like if I really am honest with myself on some animals with like fast shots that
yeah,
I just take, I've definitely just punched the trigger.
yeah, yeah,
I'm lucky in the sense that it's not a there's not been bad shots. Like it hasn't been a target panic situation where the bow's moved or done something crazy. But I'm still very aware of that based on the knowing that technique is so valuable, just based on all the different people I've talked to. I know there is people out there like Cam Haynes that will just still punch the trigger and still do a great job. And it works for him, but at the same time, it's like, is there ever going to be an undoing of that? I don't know. And being that I don't know. I've always been into movement in general and knowing like there's a good way to squat and a bad way to squat. And if you keep squatting the bad way, eventually you're going to break down some things. I kind of think of archery as the same way. It's like, hey, there's a good way to do things. So try to be in that perfect model as much as possible. So you know that you're going to be. It's almost like you've got a great system to be able to fall back on. Then.
I think you just nailed that then, man, because I feel now it's strange. And I find it even strange hearing myself say this, but I now have to think about punching the trigger.
Mm,
Like, or not punching, that's not the right word. I have to, if I want to pull the trigger with my finger,
yeah.
that is now something I've got to think about. I'm like, okay, do that. Don't pull. Use your finger.
Hmm.
But like you said, if say you've whistled in a fox and you've got just that, you've got that split second to make a move, and you do have to pull the trigger as opposed to use your back tension, which I still don't think you would. I still think you could use back
You can
tension, but
still
let's
use
just
it.
say
Yeah, exactly.
you do use your finger.
Yeah.
You've set up the building blocks that's not going to matter that one time. Like
Yeah.
everything you've done, everything else right. Um,
I'd
so yeah,
also say like in not in my defense, because that's not actually what I want. I want it to be against me. But essentially, I haven't been practicing as much as what I used to practice. And
yeah,
that's a big part of it as well, because I used to have this back tension, big like it was everything. I would always do the shot the exact same way.
yeah,
And then over the last year where I haven't been practicing as much, I've definitely found actually it's been like the last 18 months when we moved into this house where I lost my 40-meter range when I stopped shooting a lot.
yeah.
Um, it's like those little naggy habits are starting to come back in. So I'm aware of it, not to the effect where it's affecting anything on my shots, but it's like something that I've been almost like self-conscious of. But yeah, it's just interesting to kind of watch that process happen.
Yeah, for sure. Look, with your new house, again, I sound like I'm someone who knows what they're talking about. I'm not. I just have been through something this last year that get yourself one of these practice I don't know whether folks at home can watch the footage or you can describe what this is, but
What's it called? What is it actually?
this is called firing line.
Firing
They're
line.
called a
Yeah,
release
because
trainer. They're a release trainer.
I've
So
seen other variations, which is just
you get a piece of string.
yeah, just piece of string. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So Clint has I think he has a piece of bloody string in his pocket that he just puts over his thumb. And it
Mm.
said it is right where he needs to be, and he just practices with that. It's just
Yeah.
anything you can practice your thing on. I grabbed this one here, and it works great because it actually feels like a bow. You know, you've got a little handle, and
Yeah.
you know, it feels like a bow. But that can be done.
Looks
You
like a
can.
dildo with a handle.
It does, man. It looks like something you can, don't get caught in public with that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
it's the Equalizer 5000. She's
Take a new cameraman out and pull that out. All right,
I don't know.
tonight.
Check this out, brother. We're in the
Yeah,
middle of nowhere.
exactly.
Yeah. Paint it pink. But I can't recommend that more highly. I mean, if you do feel yourself slipping, I will literally this year I'm going to travel with this in my bag on the take this with me and just
Yeah,
in
awesome.
hotel rooms, just pull a release out of my pocket, pull back, and just keep up the training with that. That's a huge one. But you don't need that. Like I say, you can even make yourself a little piece of wood that sits in your palm and just get a piece of string, bit of rope, and just have that the exact length of your draw, and you can practice with that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I used to have my bow up here in my office, and I would shoot just across the room. And I've stopped doing that, but I've still got my target here, just not my bow. So I need to just bring my bow back up and then start doing it because it's a good interchange in between clients. But at the same time, I've been really busy with work, which is a great thing. And almost, I think if I bring the bow up here, it's probably not going to be touched. So I need to actually just carve time out in my calendar and make sure that I'm shooting again. That's the biggest thing.
I guess it's like anything, isn't it? So, I
It
don't
is.
exercise as much as I shouldn't, but the last six to 8 weeks or so, every single morning I've been getting up and sounding like some sort of weird self-help guy at the moment, but I've been getting up every morning and I've been stretching, which sounds so old man, and maybe it is, but bro, the difference that's made. And I look forward now. I have a cup of coffee, then I come in. I've got myself a little bloody yoga mat, like a little Byron Bay boy, and every morning I do this big stretch routine. And when I started it, like I could just touch my toe quickly, like go dunk, give it a boot, dunk, touch my toe. And now like I can fully put my hand like around my base of my foot, and
That's unreal. How long did that take? Did you say 6 weeks?
A bit longer, maybe 8.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it, to get that length out into it?
Yeah, it's so that's not both legs, that's just one. Both is exceptionally hard.
Yeah,
but
you actually just gave me the idea because my problem is that I always try to put my archery into the afternoon, and for me, it's like everything. The afternoon is too it's too variable as to how it can go. It's volatile in the sense of having kids and trying to make everyone else's routines work. Versus, I go to the gym at 4 a.m. every morning, and I'm home and have pretty much like 20, 30 minutes before the girls are awake, which I just sit and do nothing. Which now I'm going to do. That's when my bow time's going. So I'm making the adjustment. Thank you, Graham. You are a self-help man at heart.
I'm going to start charging in American dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's about getting a routine, I suppose, and that for me, it's been a good use of that morning when, if I'm honest with you, I would have spent that 20, 25, 30 minutes just scrolling some absolute random bullshit on my phone. And so it's been good to put that down and, make funny old man noises on my yoga mat instead.
Oh, that is good. So I mean, you actually did you end up getting out to that fallow block that you got access to last year?
Yeah. So the next point of call for me then obviously was coming into summer. There wasn't much going on, and I worked through. I had a very limited rut hunt last year, so the WA one went on the back burner a bit. But I have now put heaps of game cams out through there. I've actually found the rut pads out there. There's scrape trees, there's preach trees, there's rut. It's a hive of activity out there. There's game cams on them, and I've now spotted. I'm not spotting too much in the way of bucks. Had a cheeky buck the other day actually, but not spotting much in the way of bucks. But heaps
which is a good sign for the rut, right? It's perfect.
So speaking with Toby, I've seen him a couple of pics. He's like, bro, you're in the right area. If you're seeing lots of does and there's scrape trees around and rub trees, you're where you need to be. So very exciting. I don't think anything massive is going to come out of there. I don't really care, but I know what will come out of there if I'm lucky, and that's a barbecue. So super stoked on that.
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. And is it just fallow there, or do they have other critters as well?
It'll be just fallow. But here's a strange thing, and any of your listeners out there can try and fill me in on what you reckon this is. 3 times now, I've put a cam out with a solar panel attached by the wire, a little solar panel to keep the cam going while I'm away. 3 times I've gone back out there because the cam's gone offline. I'm like, why has the cam gone offline? That's weird. Every single time, the wire to my solar panel and then hence to the camera has been chewed to shit
No
by
way.
something. Yeah, I cannot get it on camera. I don't know what it is. The only thing I can suggest is that it's a fox. I don't know why he'd be chewing it, but yeah.
And jumping up behind it to be able to bite it.
I kind of get that because I do put the, obviously I don't want the solar panel in front of the cam in case it spooks something. So I do put it behind the cam.
Okay. My first thought is rats or something because they do that in like
Engine bays and things like that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like built up areas there'll be
I
rodents
thought
that do
that too until if I could show you, I don't think I've got one here, but it's something bigger because it's like they've put the whole cable in their mouth and chewed it.
Yeah, wow.
Like it's chewed to shit. It's not just little bits that's been nibbled.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So 3 times now I've destroyed 3 different solar panels.
So how big's a solar panel that hangs off the side? Like just a random square or what?
No,
yeah, big? Or
3 times, yeah, 3 times that big. Like,
okay.
Quite big. Actually, there's one here. I've got one right here. Well, there you go. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but there's the solar panel.
Yeah, okay.
And there's
like
a piece of cable that's been chewed off the end of it.
Yeah, far out. They've done a fair job.
Yeah, and that's just one piece of it. You know, that thing gets chewed to crap. So
it's just like lots of chew marks the whole way along, or is it like
No,
a break and they've taken half of the cord as
like
well?
snapped in half, then chewed to pieces, like they've had it in their mouth. Then I find another piece
That's
2
so
meters away.
odd. So
Yeah, man,
odd.
like completely chewed up. At first, I thought, oh, maybe someone's, you know, there's a poacher out here or something, and they're trying to give me a message, but it's not that because you get them on cam. Why wouldn't you just leave me a note saying, I don't know, or I don't know? Yeah, so very strange. I don't know what it is, but
So strange. And have you ever captured foxes on the camera at all?
yeah, one. I've had multiple animals come through, multiple, but yeah, only ever got one fox on camera.
Yeah, okay. Hence
So if it is
the
him,
the tip off.
yeah, well, if it's him, he's a wily bastard. But yeah, it's so strange. I don't know what's doing it, but it's I'll leave the cams out of there now and leave that alone for a little while, and I'll start going back in sort of March-ish.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And how about so that's the rut obviously booked out. Have you actually got time off for it? You've set some time aside?
I don't this year. I was a bit silly. I didn't actually put anything in my calendar. Last year I hunted the rut quite early, or you might say perfect timing. But do you remember it was quite hot at the beginning of the rut last year?
And it's quite a weird rut for a lot of people up the East Coast. Definitely.
It was, man. It was super strange, and I was in it, and it was like I was stinking hot, you know, in the mornings. Like even the evenings were like humidly hot. Weird. So it was a pretty poor performance on my behalf, that one. This year I've actually got the time off late in the rut, so we'll see. We'll see. The benefit of being late is I can call friends and say how things looking.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas when you go in early, you've got no idea. You just got to go and hope for the best. But late, you know, I can call Toby and say, how's that block looking? Is it worth my while? And he'll either say, yeah, fucking get up there, or, you know, nah, man, don't worry.
How late are you talking?
Where was I last year? I like to try and be up there around about the 100th day of the year. So about the 10th.
Okay.
And now I'm not going to be there toward the end of the month, 22nd, 23rd.
Yeah, okay. So they might just not be as vocal, but they might still be out there doing their thing.
Exactly. I think I'll probably miss the vocal side of things, but hopefully they're still, yeah. I was told once, I don't know how true it is, but towards the end is not a bad time because they're still kind of off guard, but now they're pretty knackered. They're not doing much. Yeah. They're just kind of hanging with their head down, kind of just trying to, you know, get some feeling back in them.
I almost feel like it was the talk that I had with Toby and Grant where we talked about the fallow, and he was saying, Toby, I think, said, yeah, one was literally asleep. Like they walked up and touched it and held it for a little bit before it hopped up because it was just that fatigue from a month of, banging and fighting.
Yeah, so I might miss the entire, you know, the great part, the fun part, the roaring, you know, the croaking in the hills. I might miss that, but it might just be that it's an easier time for me to be out there with my little legs trying to run around the hills. I might just be able to walk up and touch one. We'll see.
Goal, hey?
yeah, we'll see. But that's the plan there.
Definitely. So have you actually hunted since you've kind of overcome this issue, essentially?
Only locally on the local goats out through here and rabbits. And yeah, it's game changing, man. Like honestly, the confidence level is phenomenal. Yeah, it's just fantastic. The last hunt I did last year was Cayuga, and I had a bantang hunt before that. So I ended last year on a massive high, bow hunting wise. I haven't got as much punched in for this year. I'm just going to let this year sort of pan out. But yeah, it's been a pretty wild sort of last 6 months or so on the old archery front. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome to see that it's actually that you've overcome it as well, right? To be on this side of it and know that you've got to that stage is pretty powerful. It's very interesting, like as a psychological standpoint. I wonder what the block was and what the overcoming is essentially. Like just to draw back on it every single day. It's almost like showing you that you have the power or something like I don't know what that is. Like that psychological standhold that you now have on the bow and of the pin. That's so interesting to watch that just doing it consistently for 6 weeks, that's what the fix was.
Dude, I don't know what either A caused it in the first place. Like there was
Hmm.
no defining moment. It wasn't like you could say I got I didn't go from shooting a 22 to a 308 and the noise was causing me to flinch or anything. It wasn't that,
Hmm.
but something obviously it 100% was the pulling of the trigger. That was the bit. Like I could draw back, I could get comfortable, and it'd be totally fine up until that split second where I knew, okay, now I've got to take a shot. Taking that out of the equation, taking that moment in my head saying, now I've got to take a shot. So I don't even think that anymore. I personally don't take the shot.
Hmm.
I don't know who does. Like this weird dude inside my head takes the shot now. All I do is pull back, anchor, strong, and then just trust the float.
Yeah.
Trust the float. My elbow comes back, and this fucking shot goes off.
No,
And I,
crazy boy comes in.
yeah, I just go all bloody Joel Turner on the shot, and somehow it works. But what I think is really important for me now is I don't think I'll ever be over this. I can never say I'm over target panic.
No,
It's
it's
always going to be
consistently
there,
doing the work. Yeah.
but I think I've got a solid cement foundation on the floor now that I can go back to, and that's not gonna degrade or evaporate. That's always going to be there.
Hmm.
So I know now that if I start to do some weird shit, it's like, okay, stop. Let's just go back to the basics and get over that little hurdle again. And that's what I meant when I said I feel more in control of my shot now than I ever have, because I kind of feel like there's no undoing it now.
Mm.
I kind of feel like I'm on the other side. Whereas before, I was like, okay, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on this. To do that, I'm going to go online and I'm going to Google target panic trigger releases, and that's what's going to fix the problem. And it'd arrive in the mail, and I'd get it and I'd put it on, and oh yeah, that works. That's sick. It doesn't do shit.
It's
Usually that
like you
trigger,
said, right? Everything but doing the work.
everything
Like,
except doing
yeah.
that shit boring 6 weeks of just pulling bow back, letting it down, pulling a bow back, letting it down, and
Yeah.
then every night picking my big dildo up here, and drawing this thing back, and then doing that weird back tension thing till it went off.
Yeah. Because, I did the 30 days of, Summers recommends it after someone goes and works with him. 30 days of just doing your back tension shots at a
Yep.
meter and a half. And
Yep.
I think it was 15 to 20 arrows maybe every single day I did of that.
Yep.
And that was by the end of it getting pretty tedious. And I'm like, no, just stick it through. Like, see, he said 30 days, stay to your 30 days. And I think that was also very powerful though.
Yep. I kind of didn't mention that, did I really? So when I sort of got to a point where I was super bored because pulling this bow back, that's when I went to that meter. It wasn't a meter and a half. I was a bit. It was about 5 meters from my target, and I probably did 3 weeks every single day shooting at that distance with
Hmm.
back tension every single day before I started to come back out to distance and shooting normally. And it took two things away. I didn't need to worry too much about where that pin was because the center of your target's so big and you're so close. Floating in that was very, very easy.
Yeah.
So I didn't care where my arrows were going. They were just going
Hmm.
all over that black dot. I wasn't interested in that. I just worked on letting that shot go, and being surprised every time. Um, yeah. And then I started coming back and working on grouping and getting further away. And the confidence that was sort of starting to build after that was just phenomenal. It's crazy.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I think, and like you said, if this can at least help even one person, I think it's done its job, right? Like, that's the goal. But
Yeah.
obviously there is, I'm just so blown away by the psychological overhaul that essentially happened from just doing that.
I'd love to know. If there's any psychologists listening that can tell me how
Mm.
what happened, what it is. Yeah, maybe it's just as simple as seeing this process work. Like everything I've done now, everything I've sort of put into place, even though I didn't know it. It's when you're up at Cayuga, Maddie and the boys have got a saying. They always say you're using the right gear. If you are, like if you're using the right gear, if you've got the right release, the right broadheads, the right arrows. Another big thing for me too. This is really, really small, but I've moved to using, and I've got no affiliation, nothing. But I was speaking to Brad, and he basically said, get yourself these easy veins and
Yeah.
get some serious helical on and make them fly better. Bro, the difference these have made. I sent Ian some videos of my shooting a while back, and just to show him what was going on in arrow flight out to 40 odd meters. And Ian literally replied back to me and said, I could watch that all day long. These arrows were just perfection, like utter
Yeah.
beauty through the air. Just they were spinning hundreds of times before hitting the target.
Did
So
you change like did you order something with the extra helical on it then? Because I didn't.
no, I
I've
just
definitely. It's just that they've got the extra helical, right?
that's just the way they are. So I've got
Yeah,
them
yeah,
for
cool. I think I've got the exact same ones.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you just get them for your specific shaft. So I've got I think this is the Nexus here, the Infinity. Learn how to put them on. Big tip with these is before you do the super glue, practice putting it on because some are a lot tighter than others, even though they all come out of a 3D printer, I'm guessing. Some slide on quite easy. Others you've got to yank them on fairly hard. And I wasted a few by putting super glue on before testing them. So I do a fake fit, then take them off, super glue them, then do a proper fit. And the difference they've made
So
is,
actually, what I do is I'll put them in the position that I want them in, and then
yep.
I just pull at the very tip of it and try to put a little bit of glue in there instead,
Oh, okay.
and just watch it like drip down, and then I'll do the same on the other side. So you're just doing it on each half, and it just literally it molds down enough just by doing
Oh,
that
what
little
you?
pull away. Yeah,
Oh,
just pulling on that little tab.
mine are way too tight to do that.
Yeah,
There's
okay. Like
there's
mine are
no
pretty
way.
tight, but I definitely you can just get enough in, and then I just got a cloth there to be able to wipe away the extra glue.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I actually think it was I actually think it was Brad Smith who said to do that. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Maybe
Rosie. Okay.
maybe Randy told. Sorry, maybe Smithy told Randy, and Randy told me. Someone told me along the grapevine though, and I'm pretty sure it came from Brad Smith on how to do it. But I was talking to Shane Chater from Bowhunters Domain, and he was talking about if there's too much glue that it could affect the actual spine of the arrow because
Oh,
essentially
right.
the spine of the arrow is be able to flex at a certain distance, and if you've got that much of a whole helical or sorry of a whole that much of your arrow essentially just covered completely around with rock hard glue,
That would
it
make sense.
it might affect the bend of the arrow a little bit. So I don't know if that also came into the conversation at that time or not, but yeah, that was just something that I learned was just a little pull away and dab it in on each side.
Yep.
Or sorry, one half, and then on the bottom, one half, and that just made all the difference for it. It means
Oh,
you
okay.
don't
I'll
have to
give that a go.
slide it past that position as well. And I did that the first time where I went too far. I'm like, God damn it, I had to try and
Yeah.
move it back up and get in the right place.
I just use the online, like the online instructions that come with it. Say you put your thumb or that little paper clip where you need it to go, and then just slip it down till it hits your thumb and
Yeah,
stops. And
yeah.
I've got a little marker on my, I've got a ruler around here somewhere, and I've just got a marker on the ruler, so I just put my arrow down on the bench, put two
Hmm.
little black marks, put my thumb where that needs to go, do a practice, and then it's literally 2 or 3 dabs of glue around the shaft, and on she
Straight
goes.
on.
But I think, yeah, like I say, simply in this last year where I've started to even subconsciously just make these tiny little changes, just
Hmm.
speaking to people in the know, like, Smithy's a great one. If you follow Smithy on Instagram, message him. He'll get back to you with, generally, you won't message using text. He'll get to you with a word message, like he'll speak to
A
you on the
voice
phone,
message. Yeah,
a
yeah.
voice message, yeah. He'll tell you how to use these, how to put them on, any changes you need to make. Yeah, going with a single pin sight, getting binos with a rangefinder in them, the lower poundage on my bow. When it comes, and the lower poundage thing too, on that, I've shot, how many pigs did I shoot up a Cayuga? Quite a few. I shot bantang, shot goats. I have not yet not had a full pass through. The only thing that stopped the pass through are these veins. They do stick on the outside of the animal quite
Hmm.
heartily. But at 60 pounds, I had 2 shots on the bantang, and but all of them were pass throughs.
Yeah, wow.
Shot a big boar up at Cayuga on the waterline, and you can see in the slow motion the arrow coming out the other side into the water, making a big splash.
How
Uh,
cool.
yeah, full pass throughs at 60 pounds. So if my little noodle arms can do that, I'm not going to be worried about poundage.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I think the level of technology that the bows are now utilizing, it's a different 60 pounds to what it used to be in a sense. Like the way they shoot is just it's yeah, I don't know. It's amazing
Yeah,
to watch it.
it is. And, mine does drop off over after 40. There is a noticeable, like, I'll get a lovely flight and it'll hit. If I'm shooting at 50, man, that last 10, 15 meters, she comes down
Yeah.
hard. She really loses power after that. But to my mind, I'm really never going to shoot out at those distances. It's just for
No,
fun that I'm
exactly.
shooting those distances. So I'm not too concerned about it. But yeah, I'm happy to say that I'm shooting at 60 now, and I can draw my bow sitting down on my knees, whatever I need to do. Um, And yeah, just these little tiny. Oh, the other thing I made too, I've got a red string because I reckon red strings are cooler than any other color. So
It's faster too, right?
it's way faster to have a red string. Um, but yeah, just these little changes have been instrumental to where I'm at now, which is I couldn't be a different. I'm still a shit bow hunter. Please don't get me wrong. I am still a shit bow hunter. I was shooting with Smithy one afternoon, and it was getting late in the afternoon, and this pig came in. We were sitting off a dead horse, and this pig came in, and it was just a bit too dark for my old man eyes to take the shot. So rather than letting down, I just freaked out and shot into the ground. Like, what a fucking gump! Like, what an absolute Gumby! Like, Smithy's like, that's safe execution right there. So don't for a second think that I'm any better a bow hunter, but I can, hand on heart, say that I'm a better archer than I was this time.
That's awesome. That's
without a
incredible. Tell us about the Bentang hunt, because you guys there's actually a fair few that went on that, right? That was the one that Summers came up for and everything.
Yeah, it was incredible. I actually had a very different experience to the boys because I'd been working prior to that. So the boys had a very different experience. They took a side by side up and they did a massive road trip from the Goldie all the way up. So they were on the road for 5 nights or something before me, which I had no part in. They set up camp, pretty much did everything, and I finished work, flew into Darwin, picked up a car, and then I just drove out there and sort of arrived in camp. So it was a very, very different experience for me. But Bantang for me had been for a very long time my dream animal, but not for the reasons you're probably thinking. Not because of dangerous game, not because of the size, not because of, primarily because I can't see Bantang being an easy option for people or cheap option for people moving forward.
Definitely. Yeah, no, they're going to be a 10K plus animal very consistently. Yeah.
Yep. So
if you can get access to them too, right? Because a lot of them are a lot of them are on native land.
Exactly. So we were amazingly lucky through contact to get what we got, and it still, look, don't get me wrong, it still cost us a lot, but it wasn't anywhere near what you would normally pay.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, we were also keen to get this one done, and this has been on my to-do list forever. And so gonna be honest with you, man, I was shitting myself. Like, I was so scared of these things. Really nice guy. I'd never met him before. I went up there. Jim McWilliam, who lives up in Darwin, amazing bow hunter.
I'm trying to line him up for an episode. Sorry? I'm trying to line him up for an episode.
Yeah.
Everyone's just said he's like a wealth of knowledge, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think I've got much to offer." I'm like, "Come on, come on,
he's
mate."
Amazing. And he's good mates with Ian, and Ian had asked him if he wouldn't mind grabbing a few bits and pieces so that I could chuck them in my car and bring them out to camp. So I bought all the salt up. Anyway, Jim went above and beyond. He got so much stuff for us, and I've turned up at his house, never met this guy before, and he's come out of his driveway, and he's like, "Man, mountain. You don't have to be very tall to be bigger than me, but like he's just this huge dude, big beard. He's just coming, "Hey, going." He shook my hand and nearly broke it, and I'm like, "Wow, you're a big fella, aren't you?" And then we get talking about what I'm about to do, and Jim says, "Oh man, I'm scared fucking shitless of those things." I'm like, "Jim, if you're scared of those things, like, fuck that." He's like, "Yeah, man, I won't go out in a floodplain with one. They scare the shit out of me."
Yeah, wow. So, what, just so aggressive in nature, are they?
Well, that's what I was told. Yeah, that's what I was told. I was talking to another guy online, and he's like, "Yeah, everything's fine until it's not." We had some in captivity that we could hand feed, and then one day they stampled a guy, and now he's a vegetable. This is all before I get there.
All confidence builders, of course. Yeah.
So I'm absolutely shitting myself. Then I saw my first, because of course you watch the videos, I spoke with Matty about it before, when he'd just been up, and everything in my head for the week before, I was dreaming of Bantang, and then you get there and you see your first Bantang, and they're like the weirdest animal you've ever laid eyes on. They're like a cow that rooted a buffalo that had a horse as a cousin, but is also related in some way to a deer. Like, they've just got all these weird
crystal
mannerisms.
Clear. I understand what you mean now.
Like, how do I describe it? Like, they're obviously a bovine by nature.
Yeah.
But there's something about the Asiatic water buffalo that's rubbed off on them, sort of, in a way. But then you see them run, and they're a horse, man. They run like a horse.
Yeah.
They don't run like a cow. They just get up and absolutely flog along like a horse. But then they've got the freaking senses of a deer.
Far out.
So they're the most, and they're a massive, big black animal with a big white rump, and we were very lucky. Where they were fairly unchased, I guess is the word. So we saw so many bantang.
Yeah,
like
wow.
so many. And we only had a fairly limited opportunity. And the way it played out is 3 of us got a bantang on the ground within half an hour of each other, within 200 meters of each other,
Far out.
which made that evening a very, very long evening. By the time we, got everything back to camp, it was after midnight, and we still had some dirty work to do back at camp as well. So that was a long day, but yeah, nothing. I was very lucky with mine. I managed to take a well past its use by date mature bantang. They start off kind of orangey color, grey color when they're younger, then they turn that traditional black color with the white rump. And as they start to get older, they go back to a grey color. And mine was like a full-on grey color. He was all skin and bones.
Yeah, wow.
And he had that's him just there actually. And he had that non-traditional, in most people's way of thinking, curved in horns rather than going out like devil horns.
Mm.
And he was just an absolutely gorgeous creature. And yeah,
Did you guys keep the capes and stuff? Is that why you're saying it took so long, the aftermath?
Yeah. So that was an interesting story in itself. So I was unsure what I wanted to do, primarily because a bantang mount is a big thing on your wall. Like it's a massive thing on your wall. And my little honey hole in here is only quite small in terms of how much room I've got. I have got availability, but there's a spot just up here you can't see. That's going to have a red on it one day.
Yep.
So that's where that's
taken.
going.
Yep.
That's taken. That can't have anything on it. So really, it could only go there.
Yeah.
People that are listening and not viewing this are not going to know what I'm talking about, but there's only a small spot for it. So I was very unsure if I was going to cape it or not. But in the heat of the moment, I did cape it. But then when I got back, actually, it's a funny story because the morning I was going to drive up to meet the boys, I was leaving very early from Darwin, and I get this call at like 5 a.m, like a text at 5 a.m. from Jim. And Jim's just like, "You awake?" I'm like, "Yep." And he rings me and he goes, "I've been thinking about this a lot." He said, "You're going to have a big problem." I'm like, "Oh, fuck, Jim, don't tell me any more about these fucking band." He goes, "You're going to have a big problem." I'm like, "What's my problem going to be, Jim?" He said, "Well, you're going to come driving back through Darwin and you're going to have a stinking bantag head on the back of that ute. You're not going to know what to do with it." I was like, "Well, fuck, you might be right, you might be wrong, but you could be a problem." So Jim goes, "When you come back through, just drop everything off with me and I'll take care of it."
Wow.
I was like, "Okay, that's so nice of you, man, but let's just see how it plays out first and we'll see how it goes." Anyway, I leave a day early from the boys, 2 days early from the boys to get back home. And I'm driving down, just got back into the service. I give Jim a call. I'm like, "Oi, Jim." He's like, "Yeah. You know that problem you said I was going to have?" And he was so stoked for me. He was so stoked. So I met him at he's got a little sort of store yard outside of Darwin there, and I went to his store yard where he's got sea containers and all these 3D targets and these big Povey container sort of things like IBCs full of water. And yeah, he said, "I'll look after your head, then I'll ship it back down to you." It's like, well, that's above and beyond. But then he called me the next day and said, "Man, I don't know if this is overstepping the mark," but he said, "I've got a good mate up here, Jordan, who can properly wash this skull, bleach it for you, and then send it down to you. It'll cost you a couple $100, but it'll be done perfectly." And subsequently, that put me in touch with Jordan. 2 guys in Darwin that are just absolute fucking legends. So Jordan did that for me. Jim organised the whole thing. And yeah, it arrived at my house just perfect and ready to rock and roll. And that's just those boys. They're just unbelievable. They were just so frothing that I'd had the experience I had and managed to get a bantang. They were just so excited for me. Like
I found that's a lot of the bow hunting community in general though, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I don't think no one ever would begrudge how excited you get when a dream animal comes to fruition. And Jim turned into the biggest little boy you've ever seen. Like he was just so stoked for me. Yeah. And he's you've got to get him on the podcast because he's the most underrated. He will never think he's done anything great. But have you seen the size of the fucking pigs that he goes and gets?
Hey, I honestly think they're literally probably the biggest in Australia that I've seen. Some of the stuff he's putting down. Yeah.
What you've got to remember too, when you see a photo of him with one of those pigs, he is 3 times the size of me.
Yeah.
So if you'd have put me behind that, it would be Hogosaurus. But put Jim behind it. It's like, oh, that's a big pig. It's not. It's a freaking huge pig. Like,
yeah.
He's just such a lovely guy. You must try and get him on the show. He's fantastic. So
excellent.
I owe those boys a real debt of gratitude. They were so handy up there.
So tell us about the actual caping out of them. Like, was it big ass job? Is it hard to do, or is it the skin all comes off pretty simply, like most animals?
Ian was instrumental in that. We all did our own, but Ian was very instrumental in making sure it got done properly because it was quite a palaver in that heat. Yeah, and then taking out 3 bantang capes and heads. Luckily, we had that side by side, but even then, they didn't fit. You know, they were like piled up in the back, like, you know, it was phenomenal the amount of work involved in getting those things out. Then the salting of it and making sure we got as much of the shit off it as we could in that heat because they turned sour so quick. I don't exactly know if mine was still viable. There's different indicators to it. It's supposed to go like there's supposed to be no blood, of course, supposed to go like almost a translucent blue color. I packaged it wrong too on the way out in my hurry to get out. I had the face on the inside when I rolled it up. I should have had the face on the outside, getting more air. So yeah, man, it was in those conditions. It's a huge amount of meat to be hauling out like this. Cape is just phenomenal. Yeah, then combine it with a skull and a head.
Yeah. And did you take meat? Like, was it a request of the locals to have the meat or anything?
Yeah, apparently it's we didn't try it, but I've been told by multiple sources it's not the greatest eating creature in the world. And when you can, when you think of my analogy that it's crossed between 3 different other animals, I'm not surprised. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Definitely.
Weirdest freaking thing ever. Yeah,
It might be one of those things that you can mince up and it would be good, but outside of
and
that,
that's
like
yeah.
especially a tough old bull like what you got.
Mine hardly even had any backstraps, man. It was that
Yeah, wow.
yeah, she was that old and crazy. They've got some stamina too. Like my first shot on that bantang was perfect. Lung shot. It went down actually. It fell down. But got back up again and just it kept going. Got pushed off by 2 younger males.
Wow. Yeah.
So I had to put in a secondary follow-up shot at 44 meters. And again, you think I looked through the binos, broadside at 44, and without even thinking it, just reached down, turned the knob to 45 on my thing, drew back and didn't even think about the distance. That wasn't even in my head because it didn't matter the distance because all I had to do was put that green pin on that big animal and and down he went. But yeah, they can just yeah, just incredible.
So did you say your first shot was a double lung as well?
Would have been back on the slightly behind the front legs. But yeah, definitely would have been double lung. Yeah,
That's crazy. Just that they've got that much engine to be able to go, hop up,
and
keep going.
He fell over. Like he flew down. Like video of it. I'm like, fuck yes. Like within 3 seconds of me shooting him, and then these other 2 sort of pushed him, and he got up and trotted off.
Jesus.
And then followed him, and he stopped broadside at 44 and hit him again. But
yeah,
incredible, just incredible animals. They truly, truly beautiful creature.
That trip got cut short or something, didn't it, on you guys compared to what it was
Not so
meant
much
to be?
on me. Like I was always, it was yeah. Like I had a very different experience to the boys, so I shouldn't speak on their behalf. But I was only. It's going to sound crazy. I think I was only in camp 3 days.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And one of those days was only a half day. I think I spent the rest of it getting my cape ready and caping out other people's and salting them and yeah. So I was only up there for a very short period of time. But yes, the boys I think came back a day or 2 early, 2 days early, due to a few complications. I think there was a death in a family up there and some things that they beyond their control. They still had an amazing time. We all we sort of, the one thing that would have been good is if we'd all had a chance to have a go at a buff as well. But there weren't as many buff there as there were bantang. I think the bantang had eaten them all the buff.
Is there something with them in the sense of they don't like to interact, you know?
No, they were definitely there. Like I got a nice stalk in on 3 little buff, like little baby buff, not babies, adolescents. Got sort of within 10 meters of them, which was super cool. They were definitely there. We saw a couple of big ones cross the road in front of us in the early morning as we're going out on the side by side. But at no point did I see anything out there that was worthy of taking with the bow. It was just a sea of bantang.
Yeah, wow.
Phenomenal. And they were all ages too. There were young ones. They're really cute. They're like, yeah, something you'd play with in the backyard, little floppy ears and they're orange in colour. And the females, they have the most fucked up horns. They're not attractive at all. Their horns just kind of go any sort of shape and just out the side of their head and curl back in and do all sorts of weird shit. Yeah, crazy animals. Crazy animals. So super cool to watch.
Yeah, wow. So you said they were kind of like very high on your list. Is there any other animals that are very high on the list? That red, obviously, that needs to go on your wall.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I say, the only reason it's a bit of a silly one is because I sort of see the writing on the wall with bantang and the way in which they're going to become a very precious commodity for the few that have got control over the land that they're on up there. And there's guided hunts you can go on, and they're extremely well organised, etc. If that's your thing, but it's not something that you can just go and do.
Yeah.
Unless you're prepared to fork out some serious coin. So it was high on my list for that reason, to try and get it done before you can't, kind of thing. Whereas it's not too many others. Maybe hog deer would be one that just kind of hard to get because it's a ballot, it's
Yeah.
sort of a tricky one, but that's about the only thing I can think of that's really going to be a tricky one in, say, 10 years from now. That'll be tough. In terms of other things that are high on my list, I mean, I've always wanted a big red. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want a nice big red on their wall as a bow hunter? That's got to happen. But I've got weird things that I'd like to get. I'd like to get a hare. I've
How
never shot
cool.
a hare.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And they're just so bizarre. Like, they don't have burrows. They just live under a log each night. Like, just find a new log, go to sleep under it, like in a tangle of sticks.
Yeah.
And you can whistle them in, just like you can whistle in like foxes. You get a fox whistle and you whistle in a freaking hare. How bizarre are those things? So
There's actually a series that Jerry Redmond did. That's him just calling in hares.
oh, really?
It's like, yeah, him with a like a squawker, and they literally just come in, all right, shoot him, and there's like a whole video of it. It's crazy.
Oh, I've got to check that out. That'll
Him
be
with
my next.
long blonde hair. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, like
That'll
way
be
back
my
when he was a
next
teen.
sleepless night. I'll just be thinking of bloody hares. And then, I mean, I think fallow are my favorite animal in the world. I love everything about more than the reds even. I just love everything about the fallow. Everyone's different. They take you to some beautiful country, as do reds, as do all of the animals in Australia. But and then the humble, of course, living in WA, the humble goat. I've got that one up there is 39, and I haven't quite cracked the 40 yet. If anyone ever tells you 1 inch doesn't matter, mate, you fucking tell them it does, mate. The difference between 39 and 40 is everything. So
What she said, hey?
exactly. So there's so many now. I think for me now it's having got this fucking monkey off my back. Well, the monkey's not off my back, but I have firmly punched
You've got exactly. You've got control. You've got him by the throat at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I've given him a serious slap. And that now is just making. I feel like a bit of pressure's gone. Like, I don't really mind this year what happens. Whatever pops up, we'll take it. So
yeah,
really
definitely.
Good mate mine just got into bow hunting as well. He's sort of his first year of bow hunting, and he's so keen. I think that bloke sleeps in his camo. He's so keen at the moment. Shout out to Timbo. He'll probably be listening to this. He loves your podcast. He'll be listening to this.
Awesome.
So he and I have got a couple of plans just to get away, and I'm just keen to get him onto as many pigs and goats as I can.
Definitely.
He just loves it. He's fucking crazy for it. He's got that many sets of camo. He's only got 2 legs, but he's got that many sets of camo at the moment. Every time I see him, he's bought a new camo something. So
yeah, it's that initial like desire for it, right? Where you're not getting the chance to go out, so you're thinking about it, so you're buying more because you're like, well, fuck, I'm gonna get a chance at one day.
He won't mind if I tell you this story. It's funny as fuck. He came up to Cayuga this year, so it's his first proper hunt. He's so excited. Like I don't think he slept. And first morning, he and I go out. Well, it's that afternoon, so you sort of spend the morning doing some stuff. He and I go out with Smithy that afternoon. And of course, I said to him, "You're on first today. Let's see if we can get you onto one." And we pull up at like a house dam almost. We hadn't even left the homestead very far. And sure enough, there's a fucking handy boar in the middle of this dam. They just had to get through some leaves to get to it, and it would have been probably a 25-meter shot. And he was a really handy boar. Like, he's all muddy and gnarly looking. He's got fur dripping off him. And I'm watching through the binos going, "You arsey fucker. Your first pig up here, and it's that? You fucker." Anyway, off to me left, I just hear this fucking disturbance, like, whack and bang, and all this noise going over to my right, sorry. And the pig in the middle sticks his head up. There's nothing happened to him. He's just in the middle of the dam, like nothing's happening. And next I see a pig run off, and then I was like, what the hell's going on over there? The pig in the middle of the dam. I think to myself, if he goes towards me and not towards those boys, he's gone. I'm not waiting for my best mate to get a pig. No way, I'm shooting that thing. As it turns out, it went the other way. I catch up to them. Timbo just looks like he's given birth to something, like he's white and shaking. And Smithy's just like shaking his head like, I'm like, what the fuck's happened? Turns out these two have been stalking in on this pig in the dam, and they've been so focused on the ones in the dam, they literally stepped on 2 that were bedded up on the edge. So Timbo's drawn back, and of course he's never shot anything close before, so he's completely cooked the shot, like at not even joking, at 2 meters.
Yeah, wow.
And there were 2 of them, so he's missed that one. Then the other one that's come out of the dam, he's missed that one as well. So Smithy's just turned to him and goes, "You need to calm the fuck down."
Oh, poor fella. Especially 2 in a row, right? You just, yeah.
And this is his first time at Cayuga. So he said to me, he's like, "I just couldn't believe it. Is this what Cape York's like? Like, the pigs everywhere." I'm like, no, it's not like that at all. It's yeah. We had so many cool encounters up there. There was one day, poor old Matty, because Matty was guiding last year, but also, and that's the way Matty is, it wasn't his job, but one of the big machines on the station broke down, and it had to be fixed. It couldn't wait. It had to be fixed. So Matty was helping. Matty had to spend the day helping his offsider because they just got the part had come in, and this thing had to be fixed. And I could tell Matty was super stressed about it, because if he couldn't guide, it meant that one person would have to go with another guide, another with another, which would put 3 onto one guide. So I said to Matty, I'm totally cool with guiding myself today. I'll take Rob, and me and Rob will go.
Yeah.
Because Matty was like, thank God. And he didn't say this, but I could see he was like,
You
thank
see
fuck
the relief.
God.
Yeah.
Thank God you guys know what you're doing. So I sat down with Matty and Brad and Clint, actually, and they put together a bit of a route for us for the day. And man, me and Rob had the funnest day.
Yeah.
We just took off on one of these little cars, and yeah, it culminated in me getting my PB boar.
How good.
I know, it was super cool. And Rob videoed it, and we just had the funnest day. We got back late that night. Like, everyone was wondering if we were dead. And yeah,
we've killed them. Yeah, set them off on their own, they died.
They're lost in the middle of nowhere. They we ended up walking so far, and would have been the icing on the cake would have been if Rob could have taken one home as well, but it wasn't to be that day for him. But yeah, it was just another one of those funny days. He and I just had so much fun guiding ourselves around Cayuga. Who gets the chance to do that? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was super sick.
How good. And that's what it's all about, right?
Oh, 100%. Tim managed to get his first Barra and his first Saratoga as well.
Did he get some balls or anything down with the bow in the end?
Yes, he did. Yeah, it took him till right towards the end, and there was some fucking funny moments in between. But he did get it done. I wasn't there for it, unfortunately, but I saw it on video. He did get it done, and the look of relief on his face when it finally happened was palpable. But he took his first Barra, then he got his first Saratoga. I'll never forget it. Saratoga snapped the line as he was pulling it in. And he's pretty shit scared of crocs, old Timbo. He's not a big fan of crocodiles, but he's a very big fan of holding a Saratoga in his arms, because he did this barrel roll into the water to catch this Saratoga in his arms. I was like, I've never seen I've never seen him move so fast. And he landed on top of this Saratoga and grabbed it in. Oh, fucking funny. But
anyone yell at crocs while he's there?
Well, it was the crockiest water you've ever seen as well.
Oh, God.
I wasn't anywhere near it. And yeah, he just dove on this thing right in the water's edge. I was like, fucking hell, bro, get out of there. Yeah. Super cool trip, super fun trip. Yeah, I think I said it last year. If you ever even contemplated doing Cayuga, it's so much fun. It's such a cool trip, especially with a bunch of mates. So it's the best.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've only heard amazing things. Like, obviously hunting with that crew in general, like, there's just so much wealth of knowledge. Why would you not?
Yeah, I mean, that's on its own. You know, just to hang out. Like, that's the first time I've known of Clint forever. Who hasn't? But I'd never met him before, and he was such a gentleman, such an underrated, wealth of knowledge that, And then I'd not hunted with Matty before either, believe it or not. And I went out with Matty one day, and with one of the best days I had up there, just learning so much from Matty. Like, we were putting a stalk on amongst a group of pigs, this massive boar, and yeah, Matty just totally picked apart my technique and made me stalk in a way that made so much more sense. You think you can stalk, and then Matty just goes, no, what are you doing, bro? That's not how you stalk. He's whispering in my ear at this point.
Yeah.
And just slowed down my process and said, okay, think about what you're doing. How are you going to take a shot if that foot's forward? Like, don't stalk like that. Stalk this way. And he told me this way of stalking that you can always, no matter what, take a shot, no matter what your position is.
What was the difference? Like, what was essentially you're just taking regular steps?
Yeah, even though you think you're going super. So in that last sort of, within your shot range, so within 30 meters, don't stalk by crossing your feet over like you would when you're walking, no matter how quiet you are. Stalk by bringing, so for me, I need to have my left foot forward to take my shot and my right foot back. So in the last 30 meters of my stalk, bring your right foot to your left, then bring your left foot forward. Bring your right foot to your left, put your left foot forward. Sounds so silly when you say it. It's like, oh, of course you do that. Because then, and do it sideways like a crab.
Yeah.
You've got less profile on the animal, and you're always in a position. Even if your feet are together, you can still pull back your bow and draw. But if you've got your right foot forward,
you can never do it.
It's impossible to pull your bow back.
So much action and movement. Yeah. But it's those little things, right? Like, I don't know what I actually do when I'm stalking, but just those little things where you don't necessarily think of that. And then so just to be brought in front of mind, you're like, oh, of course.
Yeah. And the fact that we were stalking through a mob of pigs too, I thought, well, this is over. This is not going to work. You can't do this. And yeah, Matty was like, no, don't worry about them. They're not going to see us. They're not worried about us. And we had like little bacon seeds at 10 meters off us, like running around.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got into 25 or something on this massive boar. It was funny because the boar they always bed behind something. They'll be in water or they're behind a fucking log. They'll never just bed out in the middle of the open.
Yeah.
It's a
Too
log
smart.
that was in front. Yeah, they're smart. Maddie could have taken the shot. Brad could have taken the shot. Clint could have taken the shot. But of course, I can't fucking take the shot because I'm too short. I couldn't get the arrow to go over the log. So Maddie's like, oh, this is fuck. We have to walk up and get on my shoulder so you can take the fucking shot. This is ridiculous. So, that one didn't work out for me due to my stature. But
Yeah.
it's just a fantastic day.
That's actually the second story you've told me about that. The first one was
I
the
think it's the third, man. That's yeah.
the fallow deer with
With Benny Chambers.
Yeah, with Benny Chambers, you couldn't see through the tussock.
Couldn't see the tussock. And then there's the other one where we're shooting across off water with a blind, and Ben pulled the blind down for me, but even that wasn't low enough. Like, fuck's sake, Graham, how short are you? Fucking hell.
Good.
Right,
Very good.
So yeah, the old short ass came back to haunt me.
Yeah.
I'm going to start hunting in high heels.
Yeah, definitely. Lessen your footprint at least.
Well, it will. There'll just be a little bit at the front and a little pad at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, give you an extra 6 inches.
You might, depending on how sharp you wear them, you might be able to collect some leaves and add to the camo.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's something in that. I'll just spray paint them. I won't have them red. I'll spray paint them, get them a decent colour.
I know, red's faster. We've
true.
already discovered that.
That's my bowstring. That's my bowstring.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was Cayuga's always a laugh, but that one was that was just a hoot.
Yeah, always. Well, mate, what's the plans for the year? You said obviously you're not necessarily you haven't booked much, but is there any hopes, ambitions, goals?
Look, again, I will hunt the rut. I've spoken with Toby, and he's got a bit of an ambitious plan. Whether or not I can pull it off, I don't know. But I'll definitely get out with him for a few days. Hopefully, I can catch up with Ben on his block for a little bit as well, if he's over there this year.
Mm-hmm.
After that, like I say, I'm going to concentrate. I'll be back in time this year to hunt my block too, because the rut over here will be later because it's hotter over here. So hopefully I can get on mine as well and just see what happens. I'm not even too concerned about putting an arrow in the air to see what happens out there.
How good.
See what happens with a WA rut. I've never do they even rut? They must do. They've got a rutting pad. They've got scrape trees.
Yeah.
You know?
I definitely had conversations with someone on the Reds at the exact same time I was out hunting, and they were out roaring at the same time. So that was interesting, being on the opposite sides of the country, but still hearing that they're roughly the same pattern.
Yeah. Okay, so I have no experience with it over here, so just watching how that comes down, and even just putting cameras out, that's going to be super exciting. So I'm really, really keen for that. And then post that, like I say, me and Timbo are going to try and get up north and get him to smack a few goats, and hopefully we've got a pig property up there too. So just get him onto a few animals. We've got goat property locally. Probably just do a lot of local stuff this year and just focus on putting arrows where they're supposed to go with complete control and yet no control, and being happy that I can put arrows where I want them to be without fucking shaking and twitching and farting and carrying on like a psycho.
Definitely, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think also, despite the fact we say that there's no hierarchy, there's definitely a hierarchy of animals, and being able to practice on goats and pigs and hares if you get the chance, but like just the smaller animal, the smaller game in general, it's just, I think it's such a good stomping ground just to really build up your confidence. So when that red comes across or whatever, you're just like, okay, no, I've got this. It's like that 100% confidence in what you're doing.
Yep. That's where, you were saying before, Americans get like one arrow a year during elk season or something. How do you spend 360 days getting ready for that 8 seconds that an elk stands out in front of you?
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I'd be a nervous wreck. It must take such,
Definitely. I guess if it's the beast and the other one maybe that's the only way around it. Who knows?
Yeah, true. If that's all you've ever known. Yeah, I mean, you hear Americans that have come out and, you do, like yourself, do podcasts with them, and they can't believe the shot opportunities we get over here, from something as simple as a rabbit through to a big red or a bantang or a buff or, so much shot opportunity over here. And yeah, like you say, I have no, I'm not snooty when it comes to animals. I get so excited if I see a rabbit, like
100%. Yeah.
Fucking rabbit, man. The fucking rabbit.
I honestly thought it would wear off, but I'm still the same. I'm like, oh yes, rabbit, or yes, goats. And it's like, it doesn't matter the size of the goats. I'm still excited by them.
100%. If you see something you can put an arrow in, I reckon you've done a lot of bow hunting if you don't get excited. Like,
I think that's the thing, right? I still don't get to bow hunt as much as what I'd love to. So it's like every time I go, it's still just an absolute blessing. I'm like, yes, I'm out. I'm doing it again.
Yeah. And then you get something in the glass and you're like, oh shit, I'm actually looking at something that I can put an arrow in. Then you get within range. It's like, oh my God, it's happening again. I'm doing it again. It's the best feeling ever. And it'll never get, for me, I don't think it'll ever get old. And then there's that, I think I said it to you when we first chatted a year ago, just that pure simplicity of watching an arrow in flight for me is still one of the most beautiful things. I just love it to pieces. I think I mentioned the recurve bow for me now too. So,
Yeah.
I'm shooting that at home, and just that is hard redefined. That is how those boys use those things to shoot animals is beyond me. But watching that thing shoot through the air is just a gorgeous thing. Never goes that. Those arrows never go where I want them to go. They're not even close.
Yeah.
But I don't expect those arrows to go where I want them to go. But yeah, just the simple fact that I can now watch arrows fly and have fun with my archery again is. I mean, there's a thing. We've got a little 3D circuit over here. I'm hoping to get into that this year, and
Very cool.
I hope I can smash some fucking arrows, bro. Like I'm looking forward to that again because that used to give me so much joy. So
the big bully Graham comes back out. Yeah.
Yeah, just being an absolute prick. Yeah. It was funny. I went for a shoot the other day with my mate, and he's sort of been watching my progress. And the first thing he said to me was, "You're going to break my arrows now, aren't you?" So yeah, it's nice to have a bit of confidence again in my archery because, man, it's been lacking for so long. And yeah, I thank the boys so much. Clint especially. He checked up on me and made sure I was still practicing, and yeah, he was super stoked for me. So yeah,
that's awesome, man. No, I really think this is going to be helpful for anyone who's having the same issues or somewhat similar issues. I have definitely heard of people having that hold on issue, and that's a big part of it. So it's just so cool that you can kind of bring this to light. I think it's going to be helpful.
I hope so. Like I said to you, even if one person out there just goes, okay, so what I've got to do is the work. It doesn't matter what I buy. It doesn't matter what release I use. It doesn't matter what bow I've got. I will say the little changes I've made, the new bow, the things that I've identified that were giving me grief, they've all helped. But the only thing that got me over the hurdle was talking to Clint and coming home and just doing the work every day, just doing the work. There's no, but yeah, if one person's listening to this and goes, fuck, I think I've got the same thing as the little midgety guy, and he got over it, I can get over it, then that's, podcast worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. Job accomplished. Well, once again, if people want to reach out, it's at EcoMuse Images is the place to follow you along. Of course, they can follow along on the YouTube channel, which is it 24/7? No,
yeah,
Drive
24/7. Yeah, we've another huge year for us over there too, so that's going to be fun. I've been trying to have as much time off as possible over here over Marin season, but they've well and truly found me, and I fly on Monday. So, I'm
due back in the office. Yep.
Yeah, mate. They've got me.
I'd say there's definitely some worse offices to work in. That's for sure.
No, I've got an amazing year coming up work-wise. I won't gloat because anyone that I've just tried to help now will hate me. But yeah, I've got a dream year coming up this year.
Can you share or not really?
Yeah, I mean, 100% I can. Actually, there's one aspect I can't share, but I'm going to go from. So my trips this year are basically a massive Cape York trip, which I do every year, which I will be taking the bow along with for sure.
Good.
But the crux of my year is we're going to go from an offshore island on the East Coast. I don't know which one yet. It'll either be Fraser or maybe a lesser known island, but that's not important. We're going to go from an island on the East Coast all the way across Australia, dipping down into places like the Tanami, up into the Gulf, right into the Kimberley, down the West Australian coast, off the coast onto Dirk Hartog Island, and finish the year off in September, October over the other side of the country.
Wow, so, how cool
is
that?
Yeah, a dream year. I'm super looking forward to it. We've got a new... we've got an absolute dream company that we've partnered with for this year when it comes to caravans. I'll let that come out later, but these guys are all Australian. They're an amazing company. They're making me a van as we speak, so I'm frothing on that. I can't wait.
How good. Yeah,
man, I've just got the year. It's like a dream year, absolute dream year. So yeah, pinch me.
Yeah, amazing, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you on the other side of it all.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, subscribe, and follow.
Love it. Thanks for your time as always, Graham. Always love it to chat, bro. Love it. Always fun.
Thanks, man. Let's try and catch up for a beer when I'm in Brisbane next.
Man, please. Let's do it.
Done. Alrighty, ready. Take care, bud.
Thanks, mate.